Hello, health enthusiasts, and welcome to Rev Up Health, your go-to podcast for all things wellness. I'm Dr. Mark Hechler.
And I'm Tandi Hechler. Together, we're here to fuel your health journey with the best of functional medicine and holistic well-being.
Each episode will dive deep into topics that matter to your health, bringing you the latest insights, research, and inspiring stories.
So whether you're on a quest for vibrant health or just looking for daily health tips, we've got you covered.
So let's embark on this journey together and transform the way you live.
Hello, and welcome to today's podcast.
Yep. Today we're going to be talking a little more about what kind of healthy aging strategies we can do. What can we do in our lives that, maybe we want to avoid chronic disease or we want to optimize our own health. So
wanted to mention Lifespan, book by Dr. David Sinclair. This was one of the first books that we read that as we were starting this journey to a more preventative type of medicine, we read this book, and it was a very interesting concept of aging as a disease.
Correct. Aging is a disease and basically longevity.
And so in this book, it talks about the fact that in the Merck Manual of Geriatrics, a malady that impacts less than half of the population is a disease, whereas aging affects 100% of the population, so it is not a disease. However, aging is the cause of all of the chronic diseases that we face.
Chronic disease leads to aging and vice versa, yes.
And one of the things that I think it's important to know is that we're not really out to live forever. Like, our plan is to live
fully
for all the years that we have.
Right. Optimizing health and not necessarily living forever. We just want good, productive, quality years of life. It's not about who can live the longest, because you can live for a long time in a wheelchair or a bed, but to be able to travel or to pick up grandkids or to go for walks or ride bikes or run, you're going to need to optimize your health.
Yeah, and avoid those chronic diseases that are oftentimes what happens after we continually put a lot of inflammation in our body. And
right. So if you optimize your health, it's going to be automatic that you're going to live longer and healthier. So I think the more we can do to kind of live up to that is going to help us in the long run.
Absolutely. So we're going to look at some different strategies, and number one is start with nutrition. So how are we fueling our bodies?
Right. We just have to basically emphasize gut health is what it boils down to. We want to make sure that our gut is as optimized and healthy as it can be, because the gut's very important for a lot of aspects of life. It's something that allows, pathogens into our body. It also promotes hormone health, so there's a lot of things that our gut does for us. And what we can do to help kind of optimize that is kind of start with the beginnings of eating the right stuff. We need to do the good healthy fruits and vegetables and good healthy selective protein sources. So I think those things will help.
Yes, and eating organic when you're able to, that will help your food be the most nutritious, right. Have the best building blocks for our cells as possible. So
it's
looking
nutrients.
At that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's anything you can do to support good nutrition is going to basically support good, healthy cellular growth. And, and reducing oxidative stress. Oxidative stress leads to inflammation, which leads to a lot of chronic diseases, blood pressure, atherosclerotic heart disease, neurodegenerative problems. So a lot of that is going to be something to help boost that.
Yeah, I really love how Dr. Casey Means talks about fueling your body in her book, Good Energy, where she talks about like looking at her plate and how are these foods going to build my new cells?
Right. Yeah. Things might taste good sometimes, but they're not always the best for us. So it's real hard to stay on track sometimes. But, another one that falls in the nutrition, I think, but into that category of nutrition is alcohol avoidance. You know, there is no amount of alcohol that's tolerable. You know, everybody says, you know, well, do it within normal limits, or not normal limits. It's more of a
moderation.
Moderation. Yes. I mean, yeah. So do it with moderation, but yet there's no level of alcohol ingestion that is actually good for you.
Well, and that's where it's a little bit deceiving, right? Because for years we've been told that, you know, red wine can be healthy and that we should consider red wine. And I think it's a personal decision how you want to approach the topic of alcohol. And we kind of just stumbled upon not partaking in alcohol when we decided to try the Dry July.
It's a conscious decision. It's just truly a conscious decision that, you know, you have to make a decision. Okay, for instance, do I want to sleep well this night, or do I want to have alcohol? You know, so you can't do both. You can't have alcohol and sleep good at night. So it won't do that. And obviously we know sleep is very important too.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that here in just a minute.
But, you know, next in line, number 2, physical activity. You know, are engaging in a regular, consistent physical activity. And consistency is really the key. You know, sporadic involvements in activity are okay, but being consistent on a regular basis is what will really help to promote that mitochondrial health.
Yes. And basically move it or lose it. Like the more you're moving your body, the more your joints remember how that works and stay lubricated and
movement. Yeah. You sit around and things are going to happen, you know, and if you've ever injured yourself or if you've ever broken a bone or something and you had to have it casted for 6 weeks and you look at that arm, you can tell the difference between your arm that hasn't been casted and the other one that has been casted. And muscle health is very important.
It is. And even more so, I mean, muscle health is important for everyone. I think it is so important for women and has been downplayed in women for a lot of years. So healthy aging is really involves that healthy muscle.
There's a tremendous movement right now with female population and muscle development.
Yes.
You know, it's not about getting big and bulky. It's not that way. You know, it's about having good quality muscle health. I mean, yes, we talk about the muscles being very important with glucose disposal, you know, and hormonal regulation, but, you know, it's also important to think about our bones, you know, because bone health is also a very, very critical part of living, you know, in your fullest lives and aging.
Yes.
So, you know, if we're more active in both an aerobic and resistance training, aerobic activity and resistance training, that's going to help us from all those aspects.
Yes.
So, but supports VO2 max too, which is a very important part of fitness, basically a level of fitness.
Yes. And it's an indicator for how well you're aging.
Right. Exactly. The higher the VO2 max, the better you're going to be able to perform and be functional and optimal in health too. Mm-hmm. So, but mental health, you know, number 3, mental health is a very, very important thing. You know, practicing mindful meditation, things of that nature, you know, just ways to just tone it down, just to cool down. It's a good stress reliever. Stress is not good on the body from a chronic standpoint. And that's kind of what that helps with that, I believe. So
it definitely does. And as someone who has struggled with mental health and, you know, worked on that very consistently for probably over 20 years now.
It takes work.
It really does take work. And knowing that it's okay to ask for help and I've had therapists, energy workers, body workers, because there is such a huge connection between your mental health and your physical body. Yeah. So kind of making those connections and working that out.
We all, as you know, with physical activity, you know, you may go and get a trainer to help you be physically active. Mm-hmm. Well, now maybe it's okay to get a therapist to have your mental therapy, you know, and check too. So it's much more widely acceptable and really pretty common. It's very common that you'll see a lot of people that have gone through therapy.
Yes.
So,
And I think the other important piece to note that when you start working on your mental health, it's not only helpful for you personally, it is also helpful for your relationships.
Right. Absolutely is. The social interactions it may not just be with a significant other or a partner, it's
children,
right.
Parents.
Absolutely. I mean,
extended family,
everything, even your coworkers. So social interaction is very important. And it's certainly something that plays into our cognitive levels too, our abilities to have mental thought processes, that are easy to come by, instead of forgetting all the stuff, or maybe learning a new language or learning a new hobby or habit or something. So that's very helpful. And now back to the one we mentioned initially, number 4, sleep. Sleep is very, very, very important. Sleep is probably one of the most overlooked aspects of health, I think, that's out there. And some people think, well, I don't need much sleep, or I can get by without sleep. No, you can't. I was right there at that time too. You're looking at me with a smile on your face, but yeah, I would be the one that could work, till midnight or even 1 a.m. and then get up the next day and do it again. Well, it's like, I'm not tired, so I don't need to sleep. So, and that's not true, because sleep is so important for, cellular repair, hormone balance, just brain health in general. I mean, if you've gone through the schooling, you remember your high school or college, and you've had to do a lot of studying and cramming for tests. Well, it's always important. Everybody always told you, get that good night's sleep before you take that test, because it's absolutely true. It's just better for mental clarity for people to be able to have a good night's sleep. And we're talking about 7 to 8, 9 hours even for people. And some people, younger population actually need a little more sleep. And it's a little harder when we get older to get sleep. So,
yeah. And today's society has made it a little bit difficult to incorporate that sleep and have a good sleep hygiene. We've got a lot of blue screens. We're taking our work home very often. There's a perception that, the busier you are, the better. And slowing down, turning those screens off, taking time to prepare for sleep can really set you up to have better quality sleep, which is so important.
Right. Sleep hygiene is something that's difficult to work with, but there's a lot of things that we'll mention in other podcasts at other times, and we alluded to it, that, there's different things you can do, like you said, to optimize sleep.
Yeah. And I will just say, if you're not dreaming, that could be an indicator that you're not getting great quality sleep.
Right.
Because dreaming is good. It helps you know that your brain has gotten a chance to slow down.
Yeah. And, it could be something that, okay, well, maybe if you've got sleep apnea, you've got a partner that has sleep apnea, they may not have significant dreams because they don't get into the deeper levels of sleep to be able to promote those dreams and that repair. And so they never get that rest and relaxation. So, and it's not just individuals with sleep apnea. It can be folks that maybe they have a drink of wine before they go to bed, or they do medications, for instance, maybe they have to take for sleeping purposes. But there's a lot of things you can do to help to optimize that.
Definitely.
Sleep
and
dreaming.
Something that we just recently did, which was super helpful. This is another cell phone kind of talk, but turning off the notifications.
Yeah.
Because it is important. Our cell phones, that's all we have. We don't have a landline. And so we have to be available for phone calls, but having those phones next to our bed, you weren't getting great quality sleep because of that. And so we
definitely noticed that thing, even it just buzzing. Okay. It buzzes, and you get tuned to that buzz, and then it either wakes you up or you're listening for it. So you never really get that level you need. So it always hasn't been easy, being a physician on call, but things have gotten easier and better over the years for that. So it's certainly something that makes a difference to avoid the distractions.
Yes.
So next, supplementation and hormone support. So there's a whole vast variety of things, and we can kind of give you some basics behind that here too. But we're looking at a lot of things like the omega-3s, vitamin D, those
vitamin
things.
D is huge because, and I think people are starting to think about this a little bit more, but most of the population is deficient in vitamin D.
Yeah. 85% of us are deficient in vitamin D. We're inside all the time.
Even people who are outside and getting good sunlight are oftentimes deficient in vitamin D.
Mm-hmm. And we're wearing sunscreen. So that also helps. Or help to reduce our vitamin D production. Yeah.
So it's super important. Vitamin D plays such a big role in our other hormones and energy. So that is one thing. It's funny because we have some friends in Canada and they were telling us that they don't even test for vitamin D anymore because everybody's deficient. So they don't even test it on the regular testing. And even in the United States, we've got lots of insurance companies that won't pay for a vitamin D test unless the patient has already been diagnosed as vitamin D deficient, which seems a little backwards. But so vitamin D, that's one thing that we see a lot of.
Yeah. And as we age, it's harder for us to make these hormones. It's harder for us to transition, get the vitamin D levels where they need to be. So aging has that part of it going for us too, makes it a little more difficult.
And as far as the omega-3 goes, that's another one that's a little bit contradictory because for so many years we were taught fat is bad, go fat free, don't eat fat. And now we know fats are very, very important for so many reasons. Right. And so omega-3 is a great supplement to help.
Right. Good source. And then we get, number 6, environmental factors. There's a lot of exposure to toxins and pollutants out there, plastics. This stuff these are disruptors. They're significant endocrine disruptors. And anything we can do to minimize our exposure to those, even the beauty products, sunscreens, those types of things, it makes a difference. It affects our system on how it works. Smoking. There's a lot of folks that smoke. I mean, there's no amount of smoke that's good either, so.
And vaping is the same.
Right.
Some people think, oh, I don't smoke anymore, but I vape now. And really there's just as much.
Smoking accelerates aging. And, it's to the point where, it will reduce a life expectancy by 10 years to smoke. Wow. And, it's going to increase your risk 4 times, a 4x fold risk for cardiovascular disease. So it's pretty significant. And lung cancers, 85% of all lung cancers are due to smoking or smoke exposure. So that's pretty significant. And of course, COPD is a very significant chronic disease too for folks. So, but these toxins, there's just air pollution, the heavy metals, those exposures, they affect a lot of the systems in our body and our cellular level functions. So, but even our cognitive decline, our mental decline can be due to those types of things. So chronic disease, chronic disease management. We need to manage the chronic disease. That's another way we can help to kind of reduce the aging, if you will, that can occur. So manage that, whether it be blood pressure or diabetes or, existing heart disease, things like that. So, but yeah. And then, next, the number 8 is community and social engagement. So we've talked about this multiple times too, how becoming involved, whether it be in a different groups or, with your own partner or something of that nature, but become involved because those connections will help to essentially give a person purpose, if you will, if nothing else and then that will help to reduce our cognitive decline. So.
Yeah, that is an interesting topic. I just had a conversation recently about, being introverted and how you can kind of think that as an introvert, you're kind of a loner, you do your own thing, but you still need that connection. And so it is really important, no matter what type of personality that you have, is that you find your community of people, and maybe it's just one person, but you've got that person to have connection with. Obviously, it's good to have a a group because, inevitably that, that's what happens when one person in a relationship passes and then the partner passes within, a short amount of time, just because that community and that
social bridge
is gone.
Yeah, that social bridge is not there, right? Well, I just want to briefly touch on some of the supplements that folks may have questions about and things too. So there's a variety of different supplements, and you can take those things for what they're worth. I kind of remember that, supplements, Dr. Pete Attia gave me kind of the best analogy, and it really kind of drives it home. But he said, to help with aging and help with functional abilities when we get older, you can look at aging or look at supplements in the aspect of they are, if you've got people on the Titanic and supplements are on the Titanic are like, okay, well, where are the chairs positioned? What am I going to eat for dinner? What am I going to drink? Who am I going to talk to? Whereas the things that we can do physically, exercise, eating right, some of those things, those are actually changing the course and the direction of the ship. So you can think of supplements are small little parts of things. Does it matter? Yes, sometimes. The quality of your life, it may make you more comfortable, but it doesn't change the fact that the ship's eventually going to go down. So, what we need to do is we really need to kind of focus on these things that we spoke to you about, the exercise and the diet. Those types of things really make a difference on the quality of our life. But the supplements, such omega-3 fatty acids that we talked about, vitamin D, coenzyme Q, it's a good antioxidant, curcumin. There's even, suggestions about, obviously, vitamin C's is another good one, magnesium, various probiotics for gut health. Obviously, those are things that are important too. And there's
ways you can also get probiotics just by, nutrition.
Correct. But,
supplementing probiotics.
Unfortunately, our gut health is so struggling. It just basically it's been sacrificed because of our awful diet. 70% of us, our diet is 70% of our diet is essentially from the high processed, overly processed foods that are just nutritionally voided for us. So, and then you got the resveratrol, A boosters, NAD boosters, and selenium. Those things are important for antioxidants. So detoxification methods, I want to kind of touch real briefly on that. Detoxification, essentially we want to help to clean up our system. You can think of it that way. Our liver's working overtime to try to detoxify things. So anything we can do to kind of help our own system work and clean up the engine, if you will help us perform better and help us prevent chronic disease. So, hydration, once again, certain dietary food choices, the exercise, even sauna. They talk about sauna as a detoxifier. It's going to help the liver and the kidney toxin load. Sleep we spoke to you about, and then avoiding the alcohol and the tobacco and the alcohol and tobacco, and then of course the probiotics, and then that mindfulness for stress reduction is very important. So, but as you can see, there's a lot of things that we can do in our lives to help kind of minimize our exposures, to optimize our health. But you just kind of have to step back and look and see what do I need to do? Where can I make a change? What can I focus on? And you don't have to do it all at one time. Do one thing at a time. So there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of noise, a lot of distraction. But you can't go wrong with exercise and dietary changes and improvements. Those are just things that I think are very important.
Yeah. So if you think of aging as a disease and what steps you might take to treat that disease, that might help to reframe how you look at aging well.
Absolutely. So if you all have any questions, any comments, want anything specifically spoken to in our podcast, reach out to us for Revelation Health and Wellbeing. Otherwise, we hope you have a healthy day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Rev Up Health. We hope you're leaving with some valuable insights to supercharge your health journey.
Don't forget to follow or subscribe to Rev Up Health wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating and review.
Have a topic you want us to explore? Reach out to us on social media channels. We love hearing from our wellness community.
Until next time, keep thriving, and remember, your journey to health is a journey to a better you.
Stay well, and we'll connect with you again soon. This is Tandi.
And this is Dr. Mark, signing off from Rev Up Health. Take care.
The information provided in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. The content is designed to support, not replace, the relationship that exists between a patient and their healthcare provider. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your healthcare regimen, including diet, exercise, or treatment plans. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Revelation Health and Wellbeing.